Hello, I'm Dr. Mary Ann Teitelbaum, and today we're going to discuss the correct way and the possible causes of treating acne. Acne is a condition where the pores in the skin get blocked by excessive oil, dead skin cells, and bacteria, and this can result in infection and inflammation. See, each pore of your skin opens up to a follicle. A follicle is made up of a hair and an oil gland, and this oil gland is called a sebaceous gland. The oil gland releases sebum, which is oil, which travels up the hair, out of the pore, and onto the skin. The sebum keeps your skin lubricated and very soft. Now, acne can occur if either too much oil is produced by your follicles or if dead skin cells accumulate in your pores, causing bacteria to build up in the clogged pores. A pimple appears when bacteria grows in a clogged pore and the oil is not able to escape. Now, hormonal changes can also contribute to acne. So can certain medications like birth control pills or steroids. Also, a diet high in refined sugars, deep-fried foods, and chips. And having parents who had acne can also predispose you to the condition. You know, when I was a young student studying holistic medicine, many years before I opened my Ayurvedic and nutritional practice, I was told across the board and without a doubt that my sickest patients would be those who were put on antibiotics for years to treat their acne. I remember shuddering at the thought of this, and then I got to see firsthand all the victims of this type of treatment, how the months and years on antibiotics destroyed the foundation of their immune system, which is the friendly bacteria in the gut, and all the ramifications that resulted from this huge insult to the body, like inflammatory bowel diseases like ulcerative colitis and Crohn's disease, food allergies, fibromyalgia, and other autoimmune diseases. All this happened as the immune system totally lost its intelligence, spiraled out of control, and started to attack everything in sight, whether it was pollen, allergens, food, and ultimately one's own body, resulting in these autoimmune reactions and diseases. And there are other medications for acne which can not only trigger autoimmune diseases, but can cause serious health issues in both the mother and her offspring, even if she hasn't taken the medicine for several years. With our very accurate pulse diagnosis, we can feel the toxins from this drug, which I'm not going to name, in both the mother and the child's bone marrow. And this has far-reaching side effects if you don't know how to pull it out, which thankfully we do. We have the herbs to pull it out of the bone marrow. As I learned Ayurveda, I was always eager to discover other ways to treat acne without scarring a person like this for life. So through the years, I have both studied the research on acne and have treated many cases of acne. I was really fortunate that my teacher, Vaidya Ramakant Mishra, hailed from a family of Raj Vaidya's, who treated the royalty of India and always specialized in dermatology, and he himself was a dermatologist and in fact taught some of my patients who were dermatologists. Vaidya Mishra got all the herbs from India for our patients and made specific formulas in the treatment of acne. So, for example, he was able to make several formulations out of a very specific herb used for acne, which is known as Semal. He made a formula to be taken both internally as well as a clay mixed with Semal and other herbs to be applied directly to the acne. This clay pulls the toxins out of the pores, which are then washed off with turmeric soap. The turmeric soap can kill the infection in the whiteheads, the blackheads, and the cysts. Next, the Semal lotion is applied, which is then left on the affected areas. And all three of these treatments are to be done once a day. We also give Ayurvedically prepared zinc, which is known as a zinc basma, for easier absorption into the bloodstream. See, the regular zinc molecule is really large, and it has a really hard time crossing the very delicate cell walls in our body to get to the inside of the cell. But by incinerating and burning the zinc mineral repeatedly for several weeks, the molecule eventually becomes a very small nanoparticle capable of easily entering the cell. And zinc has always been used in the treatment of acne and other skin conditions because its anti-inflammatory properties help the body to reduce the redness and the swelling seen in the acne patients. Studies show that patients who are treated with zinc experienced a decrease in active breakouts compared to those who weren't treated with it. And zinc also helps in wound healing, so it can help reduce any residual acne scarring. And the most important thing of all is that studies have shown that zinc can kill the bacteria that invade the pores, which cause the acne in the first place. We then clean and cool the blood with coriander tea, which is famous for directing the toxins away from the skin and into the urine, allowing for a beautiful, clear, healthy-looking skin. And since acne is caused from oil clogging the pores, we also need to clean the fat tissue, since it gets clogged from eating the hard, oxidized fats found in vegetable oils and the fast foods. See, the sweat is the mala, it is called, which means it's the detox product of the fat tissue. So therefore, we have to clean both the sweat and the toxic fat tissue with a really great herb called Indian sarsaparilla root. Toxins in the blood heat it up, causing all the inflammation we see with acne. So we add organic dried rose petals in the coriander tea to cool down the heat in the blood. We also add mangista, which helps with the inflammation at the site of the pustules and the pimples, because it stops the reactivity of the very hot toxins that are exiting through the pores of the skin. And as an added bonus, it purifies both the blood and the liver, which are always implicated with acne. We use extra potent manuka honey directly on the acne to kill infection. See, manuka honey is produced from the nectar of the manuka tree found in New Zealand. And manuka honey's antibacterial properties set it apart from other types of honey. It contains methyl glyoxal as its active ingredient, which is what's responsible for its antibacterial effects. It's also anti-inflammatory, which is perfect in the treatment of acne, since acne consists both of a bacterial infection from the clogged pores as well as inflammation surrounding the pustule. We use it directly on the skin for about 20 minutes a day before rinsing it off. We also cool the excess heat in the liver with a wonderful herb called Bhumi Amla, one of my favorite herbs, and heat liver cells which get damaged from cheap vegetable oils using mankan. Mankan is an extremely rare Ayurvedic herb, and we're really fortunate to be able to include it in our arsenal of herbs to heal the actual damaged liver cells. It takes sometimes a year or two, but it can actually regenerate those cells. It's also important to both clean the liver and at the same time keep it cool by using Guduchi Sattva. And we use neem tea when the patients can tolerate it, because neem is great for infections in the skin and for cleaning the blood and the liver, which are all indicated in the treatment of acne. And it has somewhat of a hot potency, so we have to be careful when we use it. Sometimes patients can't tolerate it, so we can't use it in those cases. But I'm actually getting way ahead of myself, because first and foremost, what always needs to be done before any prescription is written is to identify the root causes. There are usually more than one. We have to treat them, and then we treat the most superficial symptom, which of course is the acne. Because if you just focus on treating the skin, you won't get very far, because this is more of a problem with toxins and heat in the blood plasma, the blood, and the liver. It's just showing up on the skin. So let's start at the very beginning. Behind the scenes, governing all of our body's processes, are three organizing principles of our physiology, known as Vata, Pitta, and Kapha. These elements come from outside the body in nature, and they're known as prana. Prana is the cosmic radiation come from the sunlight and the moonlight, creating Agni, which is the hot energy from the sun, and Soma, the cooling lunar or the moon radiation, which form Pitta and Kapha in our bodies. Marut is responsible for the movement of the Soma and Agni, and inside our bodies, it's known as Vata. So Vata, Pitta, and Kapha govern all the various functions of our whole physiology. Vata is dry, very quick, moving, rough, and cold, and governs the movements of things in our body, like the movement of blood through the circulatory tract. Pitta, on the other hand, is the fire element, which gives heat to all the digestive organs, since they have to cook the food when it comes in. Kapha is heavy, unctuous, and cold, and it's responsible for lubricating our joints and brain, among other things. So the interesting thing is we have 3 phases of life. We start out in the Kapha stage when children are growing. There's much lubrication going on inside their bodies as their joints and brain are developing and need lots of lubrication. But then the Pitta stage occurs in the teens and 20s as the heat automatically increases in the blood, liver, and the skin during these years, and the hormones come into play. And in the Vata stage of life, this occurs past the age of about 40 or 50, when drying up of the physiology can occur, because Vata is a very dry dosha. So as you can see then, acne usually develops during the Pitta stage of life. And if you don't know how to manage the heat that occurs during these years, as well as the fluctuations in hormones, it can create lots of skin breakouts, as the skin is considered a Pitta organ. So what kinds of things can aggravate this heat, or Pitta? Well, first would be going to bed past 10 o'clock at night, because 10 at night to 2 in the morning is when Pitta is most active in our bodies. We don't want to be awake during this time, or else Pitta will become aggravated. Notice here how the teens automatically want to start staying up late. Also, too much screen time on cell phones, computers, and video games is problematic, because the radiation coming from these devices also creates agneya, or heat in the physiology. Notice again how teens tend to get addicted to these devices, creating further heat in their bodies. Also, skipping and delaying meals, running out of the house without eating breakfast, can upset Pitta, as the liver has 5 digestive fires, and it's a very large organ looking for food to digest. So when it's time to eat and there's no food, the liver can overheat, and this heat will spill out into the whole body because the liver makes blood from the food you eat. Junk food also makes the liver very hot and angry, resulting in bad skin. And in fact, many people in the Ayurvedic community feel that the skin is showing you the condition of the blood and the liver. So if the diet is clean, the skin will reflect that. And finally, children are exposed to an unprecedented amount of pharmaceuticals between their immunizations, antibiotics, steroids, inhalers, and many other medications they take, all of which heat up the liver. And once the liver is hot, the blood becomes hot, agitating the toxins which are coming through the skin all day long from the blood, allowing them to create much more inflammation than if they weren't so heated up. So the first step in treating acne then is to go to bed on time, avoid screen time as much as you can, never skip or delay meals, eat healthy with less processed, deep-fried, and fast foods, and try to prevent exposure to as many pharmaceuticals as you can. Now, as far as the herbs go, we have several treatments for acne, but as I said before, the exact protocol for each patient depends on the underlying causes. So, for example, some of the root causes, besides those I just mentioned, could be from high testosterone, which can come from insulin resistance, high estrogen, low progesterone, adrenal overload, leptin resistance, and polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. Now, after evaluating each patient to figure out which of these causes could be contributing to their acne, we then have to prescribe a treatment protocol to address the various issues in that particular patient. Luckily, we have a whole arsenal of over 500 herbal formulations to address each and every one of these issues. So let's start out by taking a look at how we treat the possible causes of high testosterone, since it's known to create acne in women if the levels are too elevated. It's supposed to be very low in women, much higher in men. So the first problem, which ties in with high testosterone, is insulin resistance, where the body isn't sensitive to the effects of the insulin that it's making. We have many herbs in Ayurveda to overcome this problem, always, of course, combined with some dietary changes. So, for example, cinnamon sticks can be used in combination with those other herbs or used in a tea. Don't use the ground up cinnamon because it loses some of its medicinal properties once it's ground, and the active ingredients will start to break down. Cinnamon is great because it makes you 25% more sensitive to the insulin that your body produces. Also, high estrogen, low progesterone can also contribute to high testosterone. In my book, Healing the Thyroid with Ayurveda, I describe the domino effect which occurs from thyroid weakness. And I explain that when the thyroid is weak, the gallbladder automatically doesn't empty the bile well, and it's through the bile that the estrogen exits the body. So when the bile flows sluggish, you wind up with a situation called high estrogen, low progesterone, as the estrogen, which is sitting in the stagnant bile, reabsorbs back into the bloodstream. And of course, we have all the specific herbs to deal with this situation as well. Excess output of cortisol from the adrenal glands is another trigger for high testosterone. Whenever we're stressed, the adrenals dump cortisol and all the other stress hormones, which shut down the thyroid function and create both high testosterone and high estrogen, low progesterone. So with long-term stress, you can develop acne as these hormones go out of balance. There's many ways to take stress off the adrenals with both herbs, changes in the daily routine like early bedtime, getting proper rest. Leptin resistance also creates high testosterone, resulting in acne. Leptin resistance occurs when the body doesn't respond to leptin, which is a hormone produced by your body's fat cells, which is responsible for telling your brain when you've had enough fat stored, so you get the signal to stop eating, and you can burn calories at a normal rate. This system evolved to keep humans from overeating, so when you eat, your body fat goes up, causing the leptin levels to go up, which in turn causes you to eat less and burn more energy. So many people who are obese have high levels of leptin, which should be giving them the signal to eat less. But with leptin resistance, the brain doesn't receive the leptin signal and thinks that your body's starving, making you hungry so you can eat more and desire less exercise. This situation most often comes from obesity, where you get trapped in this vicious cycle of gaining weight and becoming increasingly more leptin resistant over time. So then the antidote to this problem is to eat a healthy diet, exercise more, and go to bed on time and have a good quality sleep. And these are all the things we recommend to all of our patients anyway, whether they're obese or not. It's just that as you incorporate these healthy habits into your lifestyle, the leptin resistance will fade away. And finally, polycystic ovary disease is becoming extremely common nowadays, and it's caused by a weak thyroid, which causes high estrogen, low progesterone, which may cause growth on the ovaries. Women may also experience insulin resistance with this as a result. This is why they too develop acne as these hormones spiral out of balance. View my YouTube video on what causes polycystic ovary disease and how to treat it. We're having wonderful results with our unique approach to this very common problem young women are experiencing at epidemic levels nowadays. So to finish up, once we identify all the various reasons for the acne, we show the patient how to overcome their issues by taking their herbs, both internally and on the skin directly, eating freshly made homemade food so they can have quality control over everything they eat. Always remember, as you clean up your diet, your skin will reflect that, and the blemishes will clear up automatically. And of course, we teach our patients a good daily routine, how to be in tune with nature's rhythms, which means going to bed no later than 10 o'clock at night, waking up before or as the sun's rising, exercising in the morning, and learning the various ways to cleanse the liver and the blood, which again will be reflected on the skin. And always try to remember to treat the body in natural ways. Save the pharmaceuticals for life or death situations or for a crisis, because they're riddled with too many side effects. This is especially true for acne. Not only is acne not a life-threatening disease, it responds really well to natural remedies for balancing the hormones, cleaning the blood, liver, and skin, and to changes in the diet and daily routine. There's no need to risk your life to clear up your acne when you have time-proven treatments from the world-renowned dermatologists of the Ayurvedic tradition. Thank you.